If you watch pro tennis, you see everybody running around their backhands trying to hit more forehands. And sometimes if we're talking about right-handers, you see them moving over as far as the alley on the ad side, wanting to get their forehands here. And of course, trying to be aggressive with the forehand has trickled down to all levels of play, and it's very easy to see why. You can hit harder and you can create more spin, meaning you can be more aggressive, but you still keep the ball in play. And of course, if you allow your opponent to dominate with their strength, you're gonna get clobbered. So in this video, I'm gonna show you patterns how you can take away their strength. For both world-class and recreational players, obviously then it's the goal to make their opponents hit more backhands. The only difference there is that at world-class, it's not really a weakness. World-class players will not give their opponents freebies. Yes, maybe every now and then. What players are hoping for when they target the backhand of their opponents is that they will force a lower quality shot that they in turn can attack. The first player I always thought was the one who really started to structure her entire game around the forehand was Steffi Graf. If you did manage to get to her backhand, you got the dreaded slice, which was definitely not a weakness, but at least she didn't hit any winners with it. So that's what we're talking at world-class level. And of course, at recreational level, you will get errors. Tons of players want to hide their weakness, the backhand. So that's one reason, of course, why they run around the backhand. They're simply more confident with their forehand. So obviously the easiest tip would be hit to their backhands. But here's a problem with that. If somebody covers all this area from about here to over here with their forehands, you now have precious little room to actually immediately get to the backhand. And I'm going back to Steffi Graf. If you wanted to hit her backhand, you had to be incredibly precise, which even at world-class level forced errors from her opponents. Now, if we're talking recreational level, when players have a little bit less control over placement, trying to get to the backhand immediately forces your own errors because you have so little space to hit into. So not only are you worried about getting clobbered with the forehand, you're now also producing your own errors because you go into a very small space. So the workaround for that is, and it does feel a little counterintuitive in the beginning, you immediately, deliberately go to the strength, the forehand. Once you pull them further into the deuce court, again, we're talking about right-handed opponents that you have. Once you pull them out wide here, you now, on the ad side, their weaker side, you have a bigger target area. Plus, you are also making them run more to their less preferred shot, which we all know the player who has to move more aggressively is more likely to make errors or at least give you a lower quality shot. So let's start with our patterns. How can you start off the point going to their strength without obviously giving them an opportunity to immediately clobber you? You want to serve out wide. You want to pull them out wide. And to achieve that, it's a great idea to not serve hard, right to about here, but take a little bit of pace off and add more spin that pulls them out further. And you now have two options. The easiest, obviously, is with whatever they give you as a return, you immediately go to the open court. You're pretty much standard serve +1. Don't be too greedy. You don't need a winner. Simply redirect the ball and make them run. At recreational levels, you will force errors and or the shorter ball that you can then use with your forehand to put even more pressure on your opponent, or that's then the ball that you can put away. The second option that you have, if you manage to pull them out wide, is to not go into the open court, which pretty much everybody who has a big forehand is kind of used to. They know that players are trying to expose their backhand that way. So they almost automatically run over to cover the outside. So what you're then doing is you go right back behind them. So you force a really awkward change of direction. And that is a play that you can throw in after you played your traditional serve out wide into the open court, just to keep them guessing. Obviously, on the deuce court and on the ad side, you can try to immediately go to the backhand, especially if you have a kick serve on the ad side. That might be a really good way to start the point out right away, going to their weaker side. Issue with that is, again, you have to serve very, very precisely, because everybody with a big forehand basically is set up right here, almost behind the alley, to get their forehand. And I do remember playing Steffi Graf in doubles twice, and it was terrifying basically seeing her wound up for the forehand. And of course I tried to slide a few slice serves down the tee, but with somebody like Steffi Graf, even that wasn't enough. But that's definitely one thing that you can then also try to mix in, slide it down the tee to pull them away from their favorite starting position right off. And once you manage that, again, you pull them a little bit further into the court, which then opens the backhand a little bit more, or you can then immediately right away go back into their forehand. And that's then when we get to, how do I attack their forehand out of the rally? Whatever you do when you deliberately go to their forehand, do not give them a ball that sits right in their strike zone. Obviously, you heard me use mix it up on the serves, and that's your key to when you're trying to target the forehand out of the rally. You have several options here. You can hit a higher, heavier topspin, so ideally you're getting the ball out of their strike zone, and they can't just step in and nail that forehand. You can deliberately hit the ball shorter and lower, so a chip slice that comes down around the service line is perfect, because they need to be moving up, and it's harder to get under that ball there if you manage to keep it low. And I actually use that slice, that short chip slice, to come in with. Because yes, somebody who loves their forehand, trying to be aggressive with it, they love trading blast rallies from the baseline. But can they also defend with it when you attack that shot? You can hit a shorter angle, you can pull them out wide, and that's basically acting then like the slice serve that we talked about earlier. You can then start your two different patterns, either directly go into the open corner or go back behind them. Or if you have control over your own pace and the depth of your shots, of course, you can try to really nail a ball right at them to their forehand, especially if they have a bigger windup, because that might jam them and again give you a lower quality ball. The key, as I said earlier, is to mix it up. Don't let them hit the same forehand twice. And if you manage to mix up your patterns both with your serve and with going directly to their forehand out of the rally, you might just see that their strength is starting to crumble, because they don't get what they want, the nice juicy forehand. And of course, you always have the backhand then to attack their real weakness. And now to take advantage of all the weaker shots that you're creating, you want to start using your forehand. And if you want to learn how to do that and which patterns to run with that, check out this video.